I should kill everyone and escape?
The voices.
I'm kidding. That's not what they really said.
The time of our lives. I like to strip her down. She's married to the end. You know what she is, no doubt about it. She's a bad, bad girlfriend. She's a gold digger, now figured out it's all the pull the trigger. Future state is there and wet. Savings got no money spent. Look around at all I see. No good, bad, and ugly. Now she's on and fixed to be the future actress.
We're bad guys. It's what we do.
Well, it can't be a Suicide Squad review unless I actually play my own track, the music that fits me. Cue the music! Hey there everybody, this is 22 Tiger Dude here, and I'm here to review Suicide Squad. So Suicide Squad is written and directed by David Ayer, and Suicide Squad is about Amanda Waller, played by Viola Davis, putting together a group of bad guys, which are, of course, the Suicide Squad, because they're in jail, but she believes that they can do good. So it's up to the Suicide Squad to go out and do this mission and just do some good. Now, Suicide Squad is a film I was very, very excited for, just like I'm pretty sure most people were for this film. And as far as the DC Extended Universe goes, I've actually been really enjoying it. You know, love Man of Steel. I think that's a phenomenal film, and I actually really enjoyed Batman v Superman from earlier this year. I think that's a very underrated film from this year, and I wanted to see where they could take the concept of the Suicide Squad, because this is a different superhero movie, if you could even call it a superhero movie. It's more of an anti-hero movie, and the fact that David Ayer is writing and directing this film has me very excited, because I actually really am a fan of at least most of David Ayer's films. And now that I've seen the final product, I am sad to say I was very disappointed with Suicide Squad. Just like with most of the movies in the summer season, I have been very disappointed. But of course, before I get to my negatives, there are good things about Suicide Squad that, of course, I need to address, because there are some good things about this film, for sure. And definitely I will start off by saying the team. I thought the team were great. It's too bad that the movie they're in isn't all that good. Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn is amazing. She's sexy, she's crazy, and she just portrays what Harley Quinn needs to be. I thought she really killed it as the character. Will Smith was awesome as Deadshot. Being the character I think I had the most sympathy for. Like, literally, the moment you see Deadshot and the moment that they give you a backstory about him, you already feel bad for this character. And I thought Will Smith portrayed that character so well. And when Deadshot's in action, especially with one action scene in particular, it is freaking awesome. Jai Courtney, who isn't exactly the best actor, but I have to say that he killed it as Captain Boomerang. Oh my goodness, Jai Courtney was awesome as Captain Boomerang. Too bad that he didn't get a whole lot of screen time, but the screen time he had, oh man, he nailed it. And as far as comic relief goes, I say he probably had the most comic relief, because he actually made me laugh quite a bit. Adewale Akinau Agbagi, he was in G.I. Joe. I always never get his name right, but he played Killer Croc, and I thought he did a really great job playing Killer Croc. I thought he was a very cool character. Jay Hernandez is really great as El Diablo. I thought his character was very fascinating, and you do get a backstory towards the end of the film that makes you sympathize with him, and I thought the movie really handled his backstory very well. Karen Fukuhara did a really good job as Katana. I thought she did really good. And I have to say, Joel Kinnaman was really, really great as Rick Flag. You actually get more development than I expected. I wasn't really expecting this movie to really flesh out Rick, but they actually did, and I thought they did a really good job of actually making you care for Rick and his whole motivation. Viola Davis was freaking excellent as Amanda Waller. And I thought Amanda Waller was just going to be a character that just sits down and talks to the group, but no, this woman goes into some twisted paths that I actually didn't see coming, and I actually kind of went, holy shit, a couple of moments, because man, this character, she really means business. She does not mess around. And Jared Leto, I'm not going to compare him to Heath Ledger or Jack Nicholson. I'm not going to compare him. I'm just going to say this. His performance is good as a Joker. Really liked his performance. Really enjoyed his performance. I did say he was going to give a really good performance, even despite the fact how I feel about the Joker's look and all. And by the way, I still am not a fan of the Joker's look. I really don't like what they did with the Joker. However, Jared Leto, you did a really good job with the Joker, so thumbs up to you, my friend. And something I have to say that I really appreciate about Suicide Squad is that it definitely has a more fun vibe. I have to say, yes, it still has its usual dark elements you'll see in a DC film, but I have to say, so far as the DC Extended Universe goes, this is the one that tries to have the most fun, and I can really appreciate that. The humor in this film is actually really good. Didn't really have a problem with the humor. I thought for a good maybe 85% of the time or 90% of the time that they attempted humor, it really worked well for me. And something I also have to say about Suicide Squad is I was really into it for the first act, you guys. For the first, like, what, 20, 25 minutes of Suicide Squad, or 30-minute mark for that matter, I was really into it. It's just once they're on their mission, once that mission starts, that's when it doesn't become as good. And the first act of the movie, most of it, really focuses on Amanda Waller introducing you to each of the members in the Suicide Squad, and I thought that was really cool. Not to mention, you get some fan service. That's all I'm going to say. It was freaking awesome as well. Oh, and the music choices for the film were really great. I loved how when the characters were introduced, each of them get their own kind of music. When for a while, it was music choice after music choice after music choice as the film started. It was very awesome, and I found myself having an absolute blast. The cinematography in this film is actually really gorgeous too. I shouldn't say actually, because all of these DC films honestly do have really good cinematography. Although yes, Batman v Superman, sometimes the cinematography wasn't all that great in that film. But I say for the most part, DC films do have really good cinematography. And I thought throughout Suicide Squad, cinematography looked very professional. The use of lighting, the use of color, all of that looked very impressive in my opinion. The action sequences I also found to be a lot of fun in this movie. I thought the action sequences were very well filmed. Yes, the editing I will say is not that great when it comes to the action, but I could still have fun with the action at least. I still liked the action for what was going on. And most of all, I thought each of the characters in this film had really great chemistry. You totally buy them as a squad. And I thought David Ayer directed the film very well, making you feel like you're in this atmosphere with all of these characters. And in some spots, I did think David Ayer wrote the film very well. But now that's where I have to stop being positive, because I had a lot of problems with Suicide Squad. And not to say that I thought this was a horrible film, because it's not a horrible film to me because of the positives I just mentioned. But the problems I had with this film, first of all, is that, like I told you earlier, once the squad goes out on their mission, that's when Suicide Squad doesn't become as good. Now, that's not to say there isn't a good moment when they're on their mission. There's some good moments that happen. Like I said earlier, Deadshot having a very awesome action sequence that was totally kick-ass. And you know, the way the characters would interact with each other. But once the Suicide Squad go on their mission, it really is not that good in my opinion. That's really a bummer, because like I said, for the first act of the Suicide Squad, I thought it was actually presented very well. And the whole reason for the Suicide Squad to even go on this mission really did not make any sense. I just didn't see the point of this Suicide Squad actually going on this mission. The pacing for the film is honestly really rushed. A lot of the moments in this film felt way too fast. The editing was very fast as well. There were too many cuts. I was still able to enjoy the action whenever it is there, but it's hard to get more invested in the action when it has too many quick cuts going for it. And although I appreciate the film developing the characters, I did feel like the development for most of the characters felt very rushed. It's like they were in a hurry to get all of these Suicide Squad members out on the mission, so they had to rush through each of the developments. And honestly, the storyline didn't really make that much sense in this film. It does jump around constantly, especially with the plot of the antagonist. Just so you guys know, the antagonist is not the Joker. That's something the marketing misled you on. The Joker is not the main antagonist. So in respect of the marketing, I'm not going to reveal who the main antagonist is, but all I'm going to say is this: the main antagonist was very, very weak, and the storyline when it came to that main antagonist didn't make any sense. And besides the whole main antagonist thing, I would even say the whole Joker and Harley Quinn thing didn't even make that much sense either. One of the things I did forget to mention in my positives is that I did like that there was heart in this film. I thought the film was actually very heartwarming, but when it does try to reach for a more emotional punch, it didn't exactly work for me. The only time I got the emotional weight from this film is really with Deadshot and Diablo. Something that was really, really bothersome to me is that this film is called The Suicide Squad, and most of the members were very underused. Boomerang was underused. Killer Croc was underused. Katana was extremely underused, big time. And Diablo was underused. I would say the Suicide Squad members that get the most screen time are obviously Deadshot and Harley Quinn. They're the ones that get the most screen time. Everyone else is put to the side, and that's a bummer to see, because let's look at the group Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, sure, even though Star-Lord was clearly the star of that movie, everyone else in that group in Guardians of the Galaxy didn't feel underused. That's why Guardians of the Galaxy, I think, is a better team movie than Suicide Squad is, because the movie only focuses on 2 of the other, 6 members in the Suicide Squad? Even give Rick Flag, who, even though I found him to be an interesting character, I just find it ironic that Rick Flag had more screen time than most of the Suicide Squad members have. And then speaking of Katana, I saw no point in her even joining the Suicide Squad. Like, why did they even bring Katana in? They just introduced her with a quick backstory that felt very rushed. Then she just comes in, and every time she honestly pops up on screen, I actually forgot she was in the Suicide Squad team. And speaking of someone that didn't need to be in this film, I really don't like saying this, but the Joker didn't have to be in Suicide Squad. He served no point to this film. The film would honestly be no different if the Joker wasn't in this film. And unfortunately, the last problem I have with the Suicide Squad is the final act. I thought the final act was very messy, very jumbled, and the special effects, honestly, most of it were good, but then I even noticed some spots were visually, it did not look that great. I thought it could have been polished better, not to mention that it was very, very rushed as well, so that's why I couldn't even really get into the final act, because it was just so extremely rushed. The movie as a whole is rushed, but it's just when you get to the final act that's even more rushed, more messy, more choppy than it was before. So you guys, yeah, I found Suicide Squad very disappointing. Once again, I didn't think it was terrible. I thought this was just an okay movie. It's okay, because apparently if you call something disappointing, it's going to automatically mean you hate it, even though that's not always the case. I didn't hate the film. I didn't think it was a bad film. I've seen worse, but it is a very disappointing film. So I gotta give Suicide Squad 2 out of 4 stars. Well, it just comes to show that you can't always have a hit, and as far as the DC Extended Universe goes, Suicide Squad is definitely a miss in my opinion. But you guys, in the comments down below, let me know what you think about Suicide Squad. And once you have seen Suicide Squad, let me know so far what's your favorite in the DC Extended Universe: Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, or Suicide Squad. So you guys, this is 22 Tiger Dude here, and don't forget that I will always have Tiger Power!